Hi guys, James from DBG here and welcome to another video. Yes, it is another showcase video. Pure and simple reason is because my camera setup is still not good enough for me to sit comfortably and paint on film. Because I am still using my phone, I am still using a really bizarre jury-rigged tripod. So it's actually incredibly painful for me to sit and paint on camera. I have tried. So unfortunately you're going to have to make do with the results of the painting rather than watching me paint. Anyway, we've got something different today. We have some Flames of War for you. This is, and this is my own personal army, my US tank company. Oh, excuse me. For those of you who don't know anything about Flames of War is a 15mm or 1/100 scale company level World War II game. It's been likened to the best World War II game of a World War II film, which basically means it's fun, it's quick, it used to be incredibly historically accurate, but it has an element of, shall we say, exploitation in the same way that the meta works in 40k. Anyway, that's what I'm going to say about that. Anyway, so yeah, this is a combination of a number of boxes. It is the Hit the Beach starter set, which I got a couple of years ago, but obviously not including the paratroopers, because in that you get, for the American side, you get 8 Shermans and a platoon of US paratroopers. They're going to be in my bits box for quite some time because I'm just not going to do them. And then a box of armoured infantry, a second box of Shermans, a box of priests, and a box of M3 mortar carriers. So, without further ado, well, what I'll do now is I'll point everything out for those of you who don't know what's what, and then we'll go in and we'll zoom in to some of my, well, most of the models really, because it's, yeah, it's easier that way. I will just do a quick shout out to Debris of War, who kindly, I think it was like 2 years ago now, or maybe 18 months ago, sent me a packet of 15mm stowage, which I have used extensively on pretty much every vehicle bar the self-propped artillery, and I'll show you those off. So a big shout out to Debris of War, who are a local company who are just down the road from me in Kent in the UK. So do check him out on his website. He is still shipping, he is still producing and shipping, because he does everything. He has a workshop and he does everything from there. So he's still shipping and producing and sending stuff out, and it's good stuff. And he doesn't just do 15mm, he does 20 and 28mm stuff as well, and terrain. So it's all good stuff. So check him out. If I can find a link, I'll pop it in the description. But that could be hard since I'm technically inept. Anyway, so the way these come, this could turn out to be a long video. The way the Flames of War Force organisation works is pretty much the same as every other you go, I go war game. You need compulsories. The compulsories in this are 2 platoons of M4s, which are these 2 here, and your command tanks. They are M4 Shermans. They are early ones with the cast hulls. Then to back them up, we have a platoon of M4A1s with the larger 76mm or 3-inch anti-tank guns, which you're going to need if you're taking on Panthers and Tigers. Then we have the aforementioned armoured infantry platoon. So that's pretty much a self-contained army with mortars, bazookas, machine gun teams, and the excellent American M1 Garand, all riding around in M3 half-tracks with 30 and 50 cals on them. Then over the back there we have the mortar carriers, the 81mm mortar mounted in the back of an M3 half-track. Then in the far corner we have a battery of M7 priests, which have the excellent 105mm howitzer on it, and a observation M4 Sherman. So, without further ado, let's zoom in and we'll look at some of these good ones. Right, here we go, we are zoomed in. So if we pan across and we're going to look down, this is my company commander, who would be a captain or a major. I'm going to do a separate video on the colours I use to paint these. So as you can see, these have the stowage on the side, so there's some logs, some scrim, some personal equipment on the side of the turret there. And then there we have the captain himself. And I have to say, the new plastics from Battlefront are amazing. The amount of detail managed to get on miniatures that are literally 15mm tall is amazing. So there is my company commander. Here's one of the 76s. As you can see, they redesigned the turret. The Americans actually weren't going to have a dedicated anti-tank tank because they had M10 tank destroyers, but they realised that the tank destroyers were basically designed as ambush tanks. They weren't designed to go toe-to-toe with other tanks. Mind you, tanks aren't designed to go toe-to-toe with other tanks. They're designed to take out infantry and artillery. Artillery is designed to take out arms and formations, but that, you know, if you do some reading on Mr. Rommel, that's one of his mantras. Anyway, so there's a big roll of scrim on the side there, some ammo crates. So I think you can see the details on the back, on the engine deck, the shovels, the axes, sledgehammer. Here we have an M3 half-track. This is the command one with a 50 cal, and there's a lieutenant who's been commanding the whole platoon. You can tell he's a lieutenant because the Americans used a bar system. So 1 bar, you were a lieutenant. 2 bars, you were a captain. Then you had symbolism. Majors were oak leaves, colonels were eagles, and then once you got past that you had stars. 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5 stars for your generals. So yeah, again, we've got knapsacks on the back there, big roll of scrim and bed rolls and more knapsacks on there as well. So you can see the detail you get from debris of war. We have Lieutenant himself, go, with his platoon sergeants. I've actually gone for a slightly darker, because later in the war you go, the Americans, the green of the uniforms. So they start off in 1942 with brown and khaki, and then as the years go on, the more experience they get. The uniform by 1945 is all green, of different shades and stuff. Obviously some troops keep, depending if they're front line or not, yeah. So you pretty much have free reign with painting your infantry. And we'll just have a look at one of the bazooka teams. Well, you're not focusing on that because you're slightly smaller than the tank. So you see the immense amount of detail that our fronts managed to get on miniatures. So small. These are much better than the metal ones they used to do. Although in some cases they still do. There we have an infantry team, again with a sergeant, with his Thompson, and then 3 normal guys with the M1 Garands. Then if we have a look at this M3, again we have a different selection of stowage, but the this one's actually got a 30 cal, not a 50 cal. So yeah, oh, I've got a bit of fluff on that. Right. So I'm just going to show you the Sherman here because I really like the way the stowage goes on the back. Now, as I said, I'm already going to do one about painting, a video about painting once I've done these. Right, here is an M3 half track, or is it an M? I think it's actually an M21. And I know the driver's in the wrong place; he just wouldn't fit, so he's just blue tacked in there. I blue tacked each one of them in to the central seat. While I find the time to do a bit of trimming to make him fit into the driver's seat, which is obviously this side, because they're American vehicles, so they'll be left-hand drive. And this is just a standard one. There's no upgrades on this whatsoever. So this is a resin and metal kit. So the crew are all metal. The insert there for the mortar is resin, and then the shell of the half track is plastic. Here we have an M7 Priest. Now an M7 Priest is self-propped artillery, and it is based on the hull of the M3 Lee, or Lee Grant, depending on your point of view, because the Americans have a specific system when it comes to their vehicles, and M stands for military, and then the number is the first, second, third, fourth, or whatever mark of that. It doesn't matter what it is, which is why when us Brits got hold of the American kit, we started to give them names, because an M3 was an anti-tank gun, a knife, a light tank, a medium tank, a half track. They gave them all the same number because it was military use, that number of that type of vehicle or a piece of equipment. So us Brits came along and we started giving stuff names. So it's hence why you have M4 Shermans, M3 Stuarts, and M7 Priests. For some reason, us Brits gave artillery ecclesiastical names. This was called a priest because the machine gun cupola there reminded someone of a priest's pulpit, so these were called priests. And the British version, which had the British 25 pounder in, exactly the same except for 25 pounder, was called a sexton, which is a different type of priest. And then last but not least, because I am rambling a bit, do apologise. This is the OP tank. It's basically this guy goes around and spots targets for the priests to shoot at, so they can fire indirect, basically, because there's assumed to be a radio link between the two. And I decided to put with the spare half-track crew on the back to represent an artillery officer. And obviously the tank commander is on the radio. So yeah, that is the OP. So there you go. That is my Flames War Army. It is 75 points. The average Flames War Army is 100 points. They went from a different way of working out points in tail end of 3rd edition to 4th. So yeah, this is 75 points, which is, as you can see, gives you a nice rounded force. It gives you a nice number of units to play around with. And even if I drop those, this unit army can be used in mid-war as well, because all the units there, apart from the 76, which didn't come into service until 1944, can be used in mid-war as well. Anyway, please check out the links in the description to everyone and everything that we have there. I can't remember what I was going to say. Yeah, links in the description to everything. Goblin Gaming, White Shark Gaming, the other sponsors that I never remember, and Patreon, obviously. As I said, the next video hopefully won't be such a rambling affair, but I will just go through the paints and a couple of techniques that I used to paint this army. This literally took me 3 or 4 days to do this. So yeah, once you know what you're doing, this stuff is actually really quick to paint. German stuff, on the other hand, it's been slightly longer to paint because Germans. I'll explain that if and when I get around to doing the Germans, if I'm still furloughed or not. Anyway, so as usual, guys, thanks for watching, stay safe, and I'll catch you next time.